Picking is the most important step in maximizing the quality of any coffee beverage. Therefore, it is crucial that we do a precise picking of the cherries that we are going to process. Once the coffee cherries are collected, they will start to degrade. Therefore, you need to start processing them as soon as possible. Coffee picking is done differently in all parts of the world. However, in the different landscape and conditions that we find here in Sri Lanka, most of the coffee is going to be harvested manually. Therefore, there's a high chance to be able to collect all of the ripest cherries. When deciding which coffee cherries you're going to pick, a good proxy to know which one is the ripest could be the sugar content on the mucilage. To evaluate the sugar content of the mucilage, you can use a tool such as this one that is a refractometer, which allows you to measure the sugars of any liquid by the refraction of the light through them. To use the refractometer, you just open the lid and take a coffee cherry and squeeze the juice on top of it. This juice needs to cover the complete lid. You close it and you look across it. You will see that there will be a difference in color, that first it was completely blue. Now that you have put some of the sugars of the mucilage on top of the lid, you will see a white screen. In this measurement, we saw that the cherries that we just collected have a measure of 7 bricks. If you do a complete spectrum from underripe to overripe, you will see that there will be a shift in the sugar's content. Whenever is the highest content, that's the ideal ripeness of the fruit. Bear in mind that the refractometer's measure will vary according to the weather, because if there's been rain, the sugars in the mucilage of the fruit will be slightly diluted. A normal measurement of ripe cherries will go from 15 bricks up to 28, according to the area where you are located, depending on the variety that you are measuring. However, the importance is to do the complete spectrum and decide which part of the cherries you are going to collect. Hopefully a spread of 2 colors in between the whole spectrum. The ideal cherries are now set up so you can tell the people that are picking these cherries to focus on specific colors. This allows you to explain a proxy to everyone that will try to define which is the ripest color in which you are going to collect your cherries. To clean the refractometer, it's important to use distilled water, or at least the most clean water that you can find. Once you define the spectrum of color that you want to collect your cherries, and that is the ideal ripening, it is important to acknowledge the difference in picking practices that you have around the country and how to incentivize coffee pickers to only focus on the ripest cherries. It is important to only harvest the ripe cherries and allow the green beans to mature it. Once the coffee is delivered into the facility, it is important to analyze how well the collection was done. In ideal conditions, we would like to have 90% of ripe cherries collected, all of the dry cherries from the trees collected, and only at 10% between underripe and green beans. When we process green cherries, it is possible that the final outcome in the beverage is going to be a dry and peanut-like flavor, which is not ideal in specialty coffee. If people or collectors or pickers do a good job, it will be ideal to increment the payment, and in that way you incentivize good pickers to continue doing their good job. From our experience in Sri Lanka, we have seen that when they do coffee harvesting, all the pickers are collecting all of the cherries. And this is not ideal because you're losing the chance of letting the green beans to maturate. To retrieve the cherries, avoid damaging the nuts, because the nuts are going to allow for future formation of beans. Try to collect looking downwards rather than upwards, because then there you have a disruption of the light. When you finish harvesting the ripe cherries, put them in a basket and take them as soon as possible to the wet mill. Avoid dropping beans, and if they drop, collect them from the ground. If in your tree you have dried cherries, collect them as well, because they will be the nest of the water beetle. Then let loose.